Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make cheddar and broccoli stuffed rolled chicken breasts. Now this reminds me of the TV dinners I had as a child. You know, the ones that were fried with the cheddar and broccoli in them. Yeah, well this one's better and it's from scratch, so let's get into it. All right, so I have 2 chicken breasts. I'm going to take my chicken breasts and then I'm going to put them in between plastic wrap. And then I'm going to take this side of my pounder and I'm going to start beating my meat. I like to do it from the middle on out, because that way it's just always been easier for me. And then when I'm halfway through beating the meat, I'm going to flip it over and then pound the other side. So I have 2 chicken breasts that I pounded, and I have some broccoli, and I shredded a little cheddar cheese. I'm going to take some mustard, and I'm going to put the mustard on top of my chicken breast and rub it in. Then I'm going to take some cheese and just layer it on top. It really doesn't have to be perfect. But you want enough cheese so it comes out tasting good. It'll all melt in there anyway. Alright, so now that I've got plenty of cheese, I'm going to add a little bit of broccoli on top of the cheese. This is cooked broccoli that I chopped up. I don't want it too chopped, because if it's too chopped, I don't like the texture. I don't want it to be like baby food, you know? Alright, so now that we have the cheese and the broccoli, let me add a little bit more. So we have the cheese and the broccoli on top. Now what I'm going to do is start folding it nice and tightly. And kind of push the sides in a little bit and keep folding. It's okay that some of it's coming out. It always does. It'll be fine once we put it in the mixture. Okay. And towards the end, I'm going to take a few toothpicks so that way it holds together nicely. That's an awkward position. Hold on here. You don't need many, because the flour will make it all kind of together anyway. Alright, so we're going to take this and we're going to put it to the side on the plate. Again, take a chicken breast, sprinkle some mustard on top, rub it in, add some cheese. I shredded cheddar cheese, but you can just use any kind of cheddar cheese you want. You can get them already sliced and kind of just break it up. But I like fresh ingredients, so that's it. All right. So now, again, we're going to add the broccoli on top. Just sprinkle it on there. Yeah, that's a big chunk. We'll put that back. And now we are going to fold it again. Nice and tightly. Kind of tuck the sides in there and continue folding. Again, it doesn't matter if it pops out because the flour mixture will cover it. So it's nice and tight. Let's flip it over and put some more toothpicks in there. You don't need that many. It really doesn't have to be perfect. Don't stress yourself out if it's not perfect because, like I said, you know, the flour will cover it up. You just want it to stay together for the most part for this round. All right, so for the assembly line, I have flour, I have 3 eggs that I beat, and I have some breadcrumbs. So you're gonna add salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning to all 3 layers and then mix it together. So I'm gonna take the chicken, I'm gonna douse it in the flour. Let me take the beater out. In the flour nice and good. You want it covered well at every step. Right? Hold it together so it doesn't fall apart too. Shake it off in the egg mixture. Make sure you get all of the parts that are covered in flour. And then shake it off again. And then into the flour mixture. There we go. And then shake it again. So one more time, in the flour. Don't be too rough with it now. You don't want everything to fall apart. In the flour. In the egg mixture. Make sure you get all of the flour with the egg mixture. That way the breadcrumbs will stick. All right, shake it. You don't want it too liquidy. And then put it right into the breadcrumbs and coat it. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to wash my hands and then I'm going to set the stove to medium-high heat and put a little oil in it. I'll be right back. All right. Now I'm going to add some vegetable oil to the pan. Don't be shy. You just want to cover the bottom with vegetable oil. We're not deep frying it or anything. We just want to brown it. So we're going to place the chicken in the pot on this side with the toothpicks. So we want to put the seam down and flip it over so that way it'll close. Alright, now that one side is cooked, I'm going to flip it over. Look how nicely golden brown it is. I'm going to flip over the next one. This is exactly how we want it. We want it nice and golden brown on all sides. It doesn't need to cook too much. We just want it to be brown, light brown, golden brown. Alright, so now that it's browned on all 4 sides, we're going to flip it over so the toothpicks are at the bottom. And we're going to put them in the oven for 20 minutes. Now we're going to make our cheesy sauce to put on top. I'm going to start by putting a little bit of olive oil in the pan so that way our butter doesn't burn. And then I'm going to put about a tablespoon and a half of butter. And I'm going to melt the butter. When it's mostly melted, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of flour. I'm making a roux, by the way. That's what it's called. And I'm just going to cook it a little bit. I think I'm going to add a little bit more flour. That's not that much more. Okay. Alright, that's cooked long enough because it's a light roux. So now I'm going to start pouring in a little bit of milk at a time. I'm going to move it around, making sure to get the flour because that's how it thickens, you know. See, it's already getting nice and thick. So I'm going to add a little bit more. And it's just going to thicken and get nice and thick. We want to melt the flour. You see the little clumps in there? We don't want clumps. We want it thick. We want it thick without clumps. So I'm going to add a little bit more milk now that it's finally getting there. I like to add a little bit of milk at a time. So that way, I just feel like it moves faster if I add a little bit of milk at a time instead of pouring the whole thing in. But that's just my point of view. And we're still trying to melt those flour chunks. Some people use a whisk, but I don't think a whisk is necessary. I use a wooden spoon, and that does the job just fine, you know. Alright, so I'm waiting for it to heat up more. Now that I've added more milk. And I'm going to wait until the flour chunks have completely dissolved. But while we're waiting, let's add a little bit of salt. 2 dashes. Maybe 3. Don't get carried away. You don't need too much salt because we're going to add a little bit of Parmesan in our sauce. So too much sauce is not needed. I mean, too much salt is not needed. Alright, it's getting, yep, it's there. So I'm going to add some of the remaining cheese. Well, all of the remaining cheese. I'm going to continue to stir it together. And I'm also going to add a sprinkle of Parmesan because I feel like it really brings out the flavors. You know, just a nice little sprinkle. Alright, so stir it all together. You know, stir, stir, stir. So now the main goal is for us to get our cheese melted. Alright, you see how the sauce is a little yellow? That's how we want it, and that's good. So I'm going to turn my stove off. I'm going to put it to the side, and let's work on the chicken. So now that I've taken the chicken out the oven and let it cool for 10 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and take the toothpicks out. Some of them can get a little stuck, don't worry. I think that's it. Okay, then I'm gonna flip it on the other side. And then I'm gonna start slicing. Ooh, that looks amazing. Whoa. So if I'm presenting it, I'm going to pour the sauce over, but right now I want to try it. So I'm just going to douse it in the sauce. Oh, look at that. Mmm. Mmm. It is so good. Just gonna. Mmm. Mmm.